Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm Sara Lubratt, and today we are going to be talking about my top 15 author goals and dreams. I made a version of this video almost 3 years ago now, and I wanted to do an updated version to see which of my goals have changed over the last 3 years, as well as to look back on in the future as my goals continue to evolve and as I start to achieve some of these goals. So if you go on to enjoy this video, I would really appreciate it if you could give it a big thumbs up, because that really supports my channel by telling the YouTube algorithm that you liked my video and that somebody else might too. If you like this video and want to see more from me, make sure you hit that big red subscribe button, because I'm currently trying to post videos twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays. And you can also turn that little bell notification on if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video. And now, without further ado, let's get into talking about my top 15 author goals and dreams. While these goals are in no particular order, my first of these 15 updated author goals is to guest teach a class on creative writing. I also think that it would be really cool to teach an entire class on creative writing, but for the sake of this video, we're just going to say that I want to guest teach. This is definitely a newer goal, but I've always enjoyed the creative writing classes that I took. I majored in creative writing in college, but even before that, in middle school and high school, creative writing and English courses were always my favorite. I studied abroad in college with a creative writing program, and then even since graduating, I've been watching the master classes on writing and creativity, and I watched Brandon Sanderson's lecture series here on YouTube, which I have an entire video about reviewing his course and kind of highlighting what really worked for me, which is also what some of these notes are from. These are all from those lecture series and all things that I want to include more of in my books. And I think a big part of it is just my continued love of learning. I never liked school because I didn't like grades, but I always liked learning, and so I love learning about creative writing, especially now that I've graduated, in just continuing my personal education without having to focus on whatever grade I'm going to get in a class. My second author goal is to have a book signing at both of my current favorite bookstores. One of them is here in Utah. It's up in an area called Park City. There is this absolutely adorable little bookstore in the main area of Park City on Main Street, and it's called Dolly's Bookstore, and it's named Dolly's Bookstore after a cat, and they have this cat wandering around the bookstore. You can pet it if you are lucky enough that it's out and wandering when you visit. But I have been going to that bookstore since I was little and coming out to Utah with my family, and so it would just be a dream come true to be able to sign books at a bookstore that I have bought so many books from and have loved, and has played such a big part in my creativity in the mountains. And every time I would come out here with my family, often in the winter, I really just felt like I was so incredibly creative in the mountains, and then I would get to go to this really sweet little bookstore. And I know that it's a very small space, but I also know that they have like a little alleyway next to it. It's not little, but I'm assuming if they ever did an author event, and I'm not even sure they do, but if they did and it were to happen in the summer, then chairs could easily be set up outside to do a little Q&A area before a book signing. But I really want to do a book signing at Dolly's Bookstore in Park City, Utah. And then my other favorite bookstore, I don't have a favorite between the two, they're just my favorite bookstores, is the Waterstones in Edinburgh, Scotland. And doing a signing at this Waterstones has definitely been a goal of mine for a little while now, primarily because it is one of the prime locations that authors go to when they do a UK book tour, which means that if I was doing a signing in this Waterstones in Edinburgh, I would be likely on a UK tour, and that would be absolutely incredible. But the reason that this bookstore is one of my favorites is that on the second floor they have a cafe, and this cafe has a bay window that looks out over the Edinburgh Castle, and that's pretty much the entire view, and it is just an absolutely magical spot. So when I visited there, actually for the first time when I was studying abroad with my creative writing program, I took a picture of myself out front to then compare to the day that I am there for a book signing, and I absolutely love the idea of putting those two pictures side by side when one day I get to make that happen. And so I guess goal number 3 kind of tails off of goal number 2, but that is to go on a book signing tour. Especially as I've been posting more on social media, I've really loved the connection that I've started to have with some of you guys, and I would love the opportunity to meet some of you guys in the future, and just getting to meet people who are like-minded, who love books, and I just love the idea of getting out there and getting to meet some of you guys. Goal number 4 is to take a month and go write in another place. There is a chance that I might be doing that in 2024, which would be really exciting. I'm still trying to iron out the details, still trying to figure out if that's something that I want to do next year, but I would love to be able to go somewhere for a month, get an Airbnb or something, and focus on writing and exploring that location. I do have a couple locations in mind, and it might be hopping places every week or every 2 weeks, probably somewhere in Europe, and I have a couple of locations written down that I would be really interested in exploring. But kind of giving myself like a month-long writing retreat I think would would be so much fun. Goal number 5 is to be traditionally published at some point in time. I do feel like self-publishing is becoming a bigger and bigger deal, which is absolutely amazing, and I love that. And I do think I'm interested in being a hybrid author at some point, but it has been a dream of mine since I was little to be traditionally published and backed by one of the big 5, and now I know that that's like the big 3 or something. But at some point in my life, I would really like to traditionally publish a book, and maybe that'll even be Project DE, which is the high fantasy book that I'm currently editing draft 6 of. But who knows? We shall see. Goal number 5 flows directly into goal number 6, which is to one day be a full-time author. This has been a dream of mine for a very, very long time, and was only kind of more realized as a legitimate opportunity within the last couple of years, and even more so last year when I quit my job to become a full-time content creator, freelance writer, and then ideally author, but that's the one that doesn't pay yet. I would absolutely adore if either writing or content creation could cover all of my expenses, and then the other thing could just be fun money or savings money or investing money on top of that. But I still love the idea of writing being what brings in the most money, which is why I started this YouTube channel and my Instagram account well before I ever realized that I would ever get paid from them, was just because I wanted to document my journey towards becoming a full-time author, which I would not consider myself yet because writing doesn't cover all of my bills, because writing doesn't make any money currently, but that is definitely one of the biggest goals that I'm working towards. Goal number 7 is inspired by Lindsay Cummings, which is having my books translated into other languages. And then kind of as a part 2 of that same goal is then collecting the different languages and keeping them all on a bookshelf within my own home. I just think that it would be really amazing to see my work translated into other languages. Goal number 8 is to get a special edition print run of one of my books, or multiples of my books. Why limit myself? This is my video. Or even like an artist edition of one of my books would be absolutely amazing. And I just bought one actually that I should pull out and show you guys, which is this copy of Fourth Wing that has painted edges with like little stencils of dragons on them, and I'm absolutely in love with this. I think that it would be so amazing to have some kind of like special edition of my books, which I absolutely would then add to my collection of my personal books on my bookshelf. Goal number 9 is to attend either BookCon or some other book convention, writing convention, author convention type of thing as one of the signing authors or one of the featured authors. I think that that would be absolutely amazing. I remember so distinctly the one BookCon I went to. I went in like 2015, 2016, something like that. It was held in Chicago at that point in time. I was still living in Minnesota. So my mom and I flew from Minnesota to Chicago for the BookCon weekend, literally with that being the entire goal of our weekend was going to BookCon. And I got to meet Sara J. Maas. I got to have my Throne of Glass copy and my A Court of Mist and Fury copy signed by her. And then of course my Throne of Glass signed copy got lost in a move, which I was very upset about, but I still have my signed A Court of Mist and Fury. It kind of matches my shirt a little bit, but it is signed and personalized by Sara J. Maas, and she also told me that I spell my name wrong, which was very fun. And then again, goal number 10 is tied to goal number 11, but I would love to speak on an author panel. I think this is also kind of tied to wanting to guest teach a creative writing class, because I would love to just talk about what I have personally learned and would love to help like pass on some of that knowledge, hopefully. And I just love the idea of, again, like being in a room full of people who are like interested in the same things, full of people who want to learn about the same things, and just kind of like sitting in that energy would be so incredible. I remember crying when I went to BookCon in, again, like 2015, 2016, because I remember distinctly walking under one of the banners of, I think it was The Diabolic, which I also have on my bookshelf. It was either that or something else with like a mechanical butterfly on it, but it was a banner basically of an advertisement for a book that was newly coming out, I believe. And I just started tearing up about the idea of being there as one of the authors and having something like that where like I have the banner for the book that I wrote or something along those lines, and that idea was like so powerful, and I remember crying, and I'm like kind of tearing up right now as I'm talking about it. But I would love to attend a BookCon or other convention and speak on a panel at some point in time. Goal number 11 is a little different and kind of just like a fun different one, and that is to be included as the featured book in a book subscription box, whether that's a box like Scribbler or Book of the Month or something along those lines, or like Fairy Loot or Owl Crate. I'm trying to remember what some of them are. I think that that would be such a cool thing to be like the featured book and like the featured author in a book box. In college, I used to work for the Scribbler Box company, and for a couple of the months that I worked there, I got to help choose the book that was going to be the featured book in the box that month, and that process was just so cool, and I love the idea of being chosen to be the featured author and then signing, you know, however many books they require for that month. I just think that that would be really cool. But again, I guess that's kind of what all of these goals are things that I think would be really cool, because otherwise they wouldn't be my goals. Goal number 12 is fan art and fan fiction of my books. As a reader, I have so much appreciation for fan art of other books or books that I'm reading, and there are some insanely gifted artists out there, so the idea of having an artist make art based off of my characters or my world or something about my story is such a great idea. So fun. This is all so fun. And then the idea that writers, whether advanced or beginning, because I know a lot of writers start out with writing fan fiction before they move into original stories, but some people just choose to write fan fiction, and that's amazing. But having potential future readers writing fan fiction based off of my books and my characters and my worlds would be so cool. Goal number 13 is to be a bestseller. I know that there are lots of different bestseller lists. I would love to make it on a bestseller list. I think that that would be really insanely cool. So that's going on this list as number 13. Goal number 14 is to see one of my books out in the wild. This is kind of a two-parter, because what I meant was going to a bookstore or a library and seeing my book, but then as soon as I said it, I also then thought about like seeing somebody reading my book like at an airport or on a plane. Okay, so definitely seeing my book out in the wilds being read by somebody would be amazing, but I know that with like the rise in e-readers and people reading on their phones and stuff and listening to audiobooks and everything, I might not actually see like a hardback or a paperback or something, but I might. And that would be really, really cool. But ultimately what I meant with this goal was being able to walk into a bookstore kind of unexpectedly or expectedly and getting to see my book on bookshelves, and then if I have a pen or a Sharpie with me, getting to sign those books. I just think that'd be so cool. We are now at goal number 15, but now this is technically 15 out of 16 because as I've been talking, I came up with one more. But goal number 15 is to attend a future Library of Norway manuscript handover, which if you want to hear more about this project, I made an entire video about it. The Future Library of Norway is a project started by a Scottish artist named Katie Patterson, who over the span of 100 years is asking one author every year to submit a manuscript that will not be touched or opened or read by anyone until 2114. The entire gist of this project is belief in future readers, and I will not be around when this anthology is printed, but I would love to go to Norway in this forest where all of these trees are being grown, where this anthology will eventually be printed on. I would love to go to one of the handover ceremonies of one of the authors giving over their manuscript to then be put into the silent room in the Oslo Public Library, which I also would like to visit because it is a room with these manuscripts in it. They are unreadable in glass drawers, but they are there, and I would love to be able to visit that ceremony and then sit in that room. I think that that would be incredibly cool. And then a part 2 of this one is definitely an author dream, but the dream is to be asked to be one of the 100 authors included in this anthology. And then bonus goal number 16 that I came up with while filming this video is to have a video game based off of one of my books. Also with like the book I'm currently writing, I could totally see like an open world video game where you get to involve yourself with like the magic system and the different like peoples, and I can't elaborate more than that right now, but hopefully eventually in the future when you guys get to read this book, you can also kind of see my vision for that, because I think that that would be so cool to have a video game, especially like an open world video game based off of one of my books, potentially even Project DE. So those are my updated author goals as of 2023. Feel free to let me know down in the comments below what some of your goals as an author or a creative person are. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Sara Lubratt. Make sure you like and subscribe because I'm currently posting 2 videos a week on Mondays and Thursdays, and so I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!